What's up, guys? Welcome to another weekly recap. Today I'm here with my dad, and we're going to bring a special guest on. We're going to talk about some of the games that transpired this week. We have Montgomery versus Prince George's Elite. We have Arlington versus Southern Maryland Elite. And we have Loudon versus Arlington Elite.
All right, so you want to bring on Mr. Parker?
Yeah, so we're going to bring on Mr. Parker.
There we go.
What's up?
Hey, hello. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate you guys as always.
Appreciate you for coming on. All right, so for the first game we have Montgomery versus Prince George's Elite. The score was 66-24, and Prince George's won. So, who were some players that you saw throughout this game? Like, who were some players that took your interest? Like that
stood out to you?
Yeah, that stood out to you.
Well, the Prince George's team has been a team that's been together this is their third season together now. So, they work well together, and they're a well-oiled machine, man. Troy Tomlin is a guy that joined the team in the winter. He's really good, athletic player. He's caught my eye. Zekem also just joined that team, who really helps them a lot. And Chase Hogg has just always been steady for those guys. But they go about 10, 11 deep. Everybody can play. Coach Hogg is a great coach. That's a really talented team.
Okay, so what do you feel like the difference was in this game? Why do you feel like it was that Prince George's won?
Not only won, they were so dominant.
Yeah, they were so dominant.
Yeah, they've been like this for 3 seasons now, man. They just play so well together. They're so talented, well coached. They're just a really hard team to beat. More than likely, I feel like they're going to be in the championship in the summertime this year, or there'll be a tough out in the playoffs. So anybody that plays in, you got to play a really, really complete game to beat them.
All right, so
Montgomery was kind of a new team, so their first game against PG was throwing them to the Sharks, really.
Why'd you do that to them? I'm messing with you.
They had to play somebody.
Yeah.
So you said you got them going to the championship?
I think right now, if I had to rank the teams, I would say them and City are the top 2.
Okay. Who are some players that you feel like really helped out Prince George's? Like, really helped them?
Man, outside of the guys I mentioned, I don't want to leave anybody out. Mo Muhammad is another guy on the team that really plays well. Just top to bottom, that roster is just really good.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Like, I don't want to mention like 4 or 5 guys, and I got to leave everyone else out. So
I
get to really talk about that team, I'd have to talk about everyone on the roster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody contributes. They rotate guys in and out all game long. It's just, they're just good. Jamin Vini is another one that comes to mind. They're just a talented team, man. Corday is going that team now. Like, I can go on and on. Gerard Desire, I can go on and on with those guys.
Is there anybody on that team that you hadn't seen before that, caught your eye, that you did that came out of nowhere?
Well, like I said, that team has been together for 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen all of them now. Troy joined the team in the winter. I hadn't seen him before that. He's really been impressive to me. Like, Chase has been in the league forever. So This is how long Chase been in the league. Chase played in the league against Darren Harris, who's a junior at PBI. Chase won a Rising Stars championship. He didn't really get in the game, but he was on the team that long ago. He was a little guy on the bench just getting the experience. But that just shows how long Chase has been around, and that team I like that team a lot, man. I really do. Zekem just got added to that team, and he might put them over the top as another athletic guy with good size that can play.
Yeah. All right, so
No. So let's move on to the next game.
Game. So for the next game, we have Arlington versus Southern Maryland Elite, 65-43 Arlington. So who are the players that stood out?
Won that one.
Oh, Southern Maryland.
Southern Maryland won that. Oops.
Okay.
Yeah, Southern Maryland won. So who are some players that stood out to you during that game?
Malachi Terrell is an athletic guy that can really play. I like him a lot. I think he's an X factor for them. Bo, the big guy, Derek Daniels, is a special talent. He dunks the ball all the time now. He's a rising 8th grader. And Christian Proctor is really starting to come into his own as a talent. I think those three guys are really high-level guys. All three potentially could be all-league players.
So can you explain this to me? I just want to be clear. I think that the Virginia side kind of plays the Virginia side first, and Maryland side plays.
Yeah, well, that's what we do in the summer because the games are, except for the weekends, they're area-based. So the Virginia teams will play in Virginia, but the issue we have because of COVID, there aren't a lot of Maryland gyms available.
Okay.
So, for example, in years past, Wednesdays would be maybe at Chavez, Cesar Chavez in D.C., or Friendship in D.C., and you would see mixes of PG City, Southern Maryland, Charles all playing each other, the first 3 or 4 weeks. And you would see the Virginia teams would be at Bishop Ireton, O'Connell, et cetera, and the northern teams would be in Anne Arundel County or Loudon and Montgomery, something like that. But with COVID and, all schools still aren't open, it kind of mixes things up schedule-wise, but we still want to keep that same model, though. So it's almost like divisions. It's almost like 3 divisions.
Gotcha.
All right. So what do you feel the difference?
So hold on. Before we go, we got a couple more games I wanted to go through.
Okay.
So Loudon versus Arlington. That looked like a good close game.
That was a really good game, man. That game, and I'm sure we'll get into it later, but that Fairfax and Arundel game, that was similar to that one. It was really high intensity. Game-winning shot was hit in that game by Jeremiah Stanford, who really has played well in that one. But that was a high intensity game. And what we did this year was we kind of cut back on the amount of teams, because we didn't want to water down things. So every team is solid. Every team can play. There are no easy games. You're going to have to battle regardless. Even the Montgomery team has talent on it. They just ran into a buzzsaw with PG.
So talk about, I know you mentioned a couple of players. Are there any players in that game that came out of nowhere to you?
Well, Jeremiah had played before, but he hadn't looked like he did in that game for Loudon. Man, he looked special.
Okay.
Really, they've only played the one game. They have a few games coming up this week. I'm really interested to see how he follows up this week with what he did last week.
And okay, so I know you mentioned the Fairfax and Arundel game, but I wanted to ask you about the Fairfax Alexandria game first. It was kind of a lopsided game score-wise. I think in the fourth quarter it kind of got, or third quarter it kind of got ugly. Tell us a little bit about that game if you can recall it.
Well,
I know you watch a lot of basketball.
Typically with teams like Fairfax who played in their first game, it's different. The nerves are there, and the style of play is a little more different, and it's weird. Like you're playing with guys that but you're playing in different jerseys. You're playing a different environment. Music is playing all over the place. That in our league,
dope environment, by the way.
Thank you. And in our league, everything you do is going to be scrutinized at a high level. Yeah. So your first time out there, you're kind of just feeling things out. In Alexandria, who's another team like PG, who pretty much those kids all played Rising Stars together and came up to elite together. So they're very comfortable. They're comfortable with their coach, and it showed in the game. Amani played really well. Simkins played really well. And I think that team is a big man away from really being one of the top teams.
Yeah, that kid Amani, number 4, I think he had 12 points and 13 rebounds in the first quarter or first half or something crazy like that.
Yeah, man, he's playing really well. It's funny because he played elite in the winter, and Kalen, who's now playing with City, I feel like if Kalen stayed with that team, man, those two would be a dominant duo.
Oh, yeah. And I want to get to Kalen in a minute in that City team. But are there any players that you hadn't been exposed to that kind of caught your eye that game?
Well, because we have the Rising Stars level, I've seen most of them. The Fairfax guys, like I knew Johnson already. I felt his dad didn't think he played well, but I felt like Giovanni had a solid game.
Okay. That was a shot.
And like I said, I've known Johnson for years. So those two guys, Ahmed could really shoot the ball low, and he could really shoot it, but he's got to stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah. That was I think like you said, part of it is that was one of the games I saw. Obviously, I think like you said, teams are still trying to figure each other out. That's something I want to talk about in regards to that later. But so the second game, the other game is Fairfax versus Anne Arundel, which you talked about. Give us your thoughts on that game.
Man, that was an entertaining game. That was a really entertaining game. I felt like Anne Arundel, who's another team, veteran team. A lot of those guys played last year with Anne Arundel and someone played with Howard, but they played 2 seasons in the league. And it shows early in the season. It shows early in games when guys are kind of used to the environment, especially used to playing at Moray, which is a bigger gym. And I felt like, Fairfax settled down. Johnson finishes with 28 points. But Johnson's another kid that this is his 4th season, something like that in the league. His third summer. So he's another one that comes in now and, used to the environment, used to what's going on. And I say that a lot because it's big. We've been doing this 8 years now, so we have a huge sample size of what kids are thinking and what's going on in their minds. We kind of know it. So the kids that have been around are a little more comfortable and they start out a little stronger.
Right. Yeah. Are there any kids from Anne Arundel that, I know you said they've been around for a while, or were you familiar with all those kids, or any of those kids really show improvement from one year to the next?
It was hard to tell early. Bruiser Edwards has really played well.
Yeah.
I like his game a lot. But outside of him, I think AZ on that team, Azriel, he showed up he's playing more of a wing position. At Rising Stars, he was more of a big on a smaller team. So it was good seeing him, kind of stress the perimeter. He's not that big, but he's athletic. And the size is one of the biggest differences in Rising Stars and Elite. If you're athletic at Rising Stars, you can get a lot of things done. But at Elite, if you're athletic but you're not big, it's going to be a struggle. You got to learn how to play a different way. And he's kind of adjusting his game, and I like what I saw from him.
Okay.
All right, so I got to ask you one last game. The game that I thought was going to be the game of the early season, Anne Arundel and City. I didn't see the game, so if you could give us your impressions of that game.
My biggest impression of that game is City didn't have Navarro,
right.
They didn't have Baba,
right.
They didn't have Ashton,
yeah,
and they still dominated the basketball game. They didn't have Bam. And that's the thing, man. Kalen Chilton and Daniel Abbas are just so good. Kalen is so talented. So short story with Kalen. Kalen played against my high school team because before he decided to reclass, he was playing with W.T. Woodson. And he played in the Master Summer League at varsity. And Kalen had multiple double-digit games playing varsity basketball.
Wow.
But he's so young. He just turned 14 yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So, his parents decided that, they're going to give him another year. And it's going to work out in his favor. And him and Daniel pretty much dominated that game. And Anne Arundel didn't play with that same energy they had against City at all. I mean, against you guys, against Fairfax at all. I really didn't like the way they played. I think their energy was low. I think they came into that game expecting to lose. And you can't think that way. They looked at the City team and they looked at the City team and said, okay, because the way they played against Fairfax, man, they were all over the place. They were firing off.
Oh my God, trapping everywhere.
Everywhere, and you didn't see that against the City team with only 6 players on it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That City team didn't have much of a bench, like you said. Most of those guys.
They had 6 guys.
I'm gonna tell you though, that K is someone I've become familiar with. Great kid, great parents, and he is just so strong. He's just crazy strong, and I think that's the difference.
All right, so. What were some of the most fun games you saw during this tournament?
Like I said, the fun ones were that Fairfax and Arundel game. I love that when the guys really and it was a point in that game where the players forgot it was PYBL and they just started hooping.
That's amazing.
They forgot that they were playing in front of a bunch of people and high school coaches, and they just were basketball players at that point. So those games like that are the ones that really that was a welcome to the PYBL game for the new guys. That was a welcome to the environment, welcome to the emotion, welcome to what it takes. Because I think a lot of times we get caught up in the AAU world. We don't play a lot of games at home, right? So you go to Minnesota and you play a team from wherever, Florida, and you don't see those guys no more, right? But these guys in the PYBL, you're literally going to see the whole time you're in high school. And you can ask any of our guys in the league, what do they remember more? And not saying that these events aren't big, but do they remember playing in the quarterfinals of Made Hoops in 8th grade or the quarterfinals of PYBL playoffs in 8th grade? And I guarantee you, they're barely going to remember even who they played in Made Hoops in the quarterfinals. But they're going to have a story behind who they played in PYBL. And guys, they're in college now, and they say, man, how's my team doing? How's Fairfax looking? I'll get DMs, I'll get calls, texts. Like, hey, Fairfax is 0-2. What's going on with them? That's what we get. It's just a pride factor of taking care of home.
That's it.
That guy that you're guarding may want to go to the same high school you go to. You guys will go to the same private school, and you're playing that guy. That guy that's standing your way from doing the things you want to do, making all Met one day, all league, what have you, is that guy you're playing in PYBL. So the rivalries form, and it's a respect thing that you're on my level because everybody can't play in this league. It's the best of the best, and the competitiveness just comes out. It just comes out.
Nah, you're absolutely correct about that. And I got a chance to see it last year, as purely as a spectator, and one of the things that I as someone who's now a little closer to the experience is it really is a big stage. It really comes with more than just playing basketball. It's not a pickup environment. It is a very intense environment from all elements. And I guess I wanted to ask you, as a coach and someone who founded PYBL and has been experienced these kids on so many different levels, what are some of the things that you see kids struggling with most early on in their PYBL experience?
Just getting used to the intensity and the nerves. Everybody's nervous when they start out here. Everybody's nervous. A lot of the kids nowadays, when they come into the league, they've known about the league most of their lives.
Yeah.
Right? So, and they've seen the kids and they see the alumni, they see who played in the league, and everything's online, everything's in your face. And, if you get beat in this league, somebody that you know is going to tell you about it.
Right.
If you go out of town to Kentucky and lose a game, people might not know what happened. You could lie and say you averaged 20. You can do whatever, right? But here, all the stats are on the webpage. They're going to be, if I'm a guard and the guard on the other team got 27 points, somebody's going to ask me, what happened? Why did he get 27? It sounds like it was you. Right? So and after a while you get used to it. It does nothing but help the kids when they get to the high school level because you've already faced everything before. You go to your local public school, you play this league, and every kid in the WCAC, IAC, you've gone one-on-one against. So the teams in your public school league, you don't care about playing them. You played the best kids in the area before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's nothing to you. And that's the part that we didn't realize, like, not just the top kids, it helps all our kids. Because you become almost fearless on the court. Like, do you know what I went through?
Right.
Do you know
right.
Do you know who I had to guard when I was in 8th grade? I'm not worried about checking you, man.
Right.
Exactly. All right. So, how much does it mean to be on that PYBL leaderboard stat sheet?
I mean, you've had to ask the players that. I think it's just a pride thing. It's just understanding that the hard work that you're putting in is paying off. You think about. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You think about the guys that have been here in the past and that have been on those sheets, and then you join that list. I think as a player speaking, I don't know how they're feeling, but I think it's definitely a pride thing that you're doing something's going right. Something's clicking, and you're starting to see the results.
Yeah. So I know, like, as a coach, you talked about how these kids are nervous when they're first starting out their PYBL experience. What are some good ways for kids to deal with the nerves that they get on such a big stage?
Well, I think you just got to learn how to fight through it because you're going to be, nerves is part of life. It's human nature to be nervous. We used to do a radio show weekly. And so we have an interview on Facebook. Trevor Kills, who, Duke University, New York Knicks now, he was talking about just the nerves in PYBL when he was in 8th grade. This one, he was in 8th grade, right? And he was just saying that, matter of fact, he was in 9th or 10th at the time. And he was saying that just playing in front of all these coaches in your face, it's a nerve-wracking experience, but it was good to go through because when he got to EYBL and it was college coaches in your face. See, that's the thing. These guys haven't seen anything yet, man. Our playoffs are a different animal. And, we take a backseat and we say, you have everything else, but there's nothing like PYBL playoffs. And pre-COVID playoffs, you would have coaching staff literally stand on the baseline. So Mike Jones, who had the Mathis, the new Mike Jones and that, but the old Mike Jones,
right.
he would have his whole coaching staff literally stand on the baseline. So coaches would pick areas, and they would just stand and scrutinize and watch everything you do. And all you can do at that time is really lock in and focus and be the best version of yourself. My advice is don't try to be anything you're not to show something else. Show who you are. Show what makes you special as a player and do those things. And these coaches want to see you help their team win. I think that's what a lot of kids don't get. And the same thing high school and colleges, looking at colleges. They don't understand that coaches want guys that win. They don't care about you getting a bucket. They don't care about those things. They want to help you win. They feed their family off winning games. So do what you do to help your basketball team win a game. And that's at this level too, man. They want to see winners. And if you're not winning, they want to see a guy that's doing everything he can to help his team win. Because, certain circumstances, you're not going to win every game. But it's that effort. It's that effort. It's that fight that you show that shows that you're going to be a contributor regardless of what's happening around you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, what are some of the coming week games matchups that you're looking forward to see?
Whether it be teams or individual play.
Oh, I'm glad you guys said that, man, because there's some juicy ones this week. So Wednesday night at O'Connell, we actually have, PG versus City, which is my pick for the championship.
Okay. Is that possible? Hold on. I thought that there was a DC side and the VA side.
Well, no. When the playoffs, it's the top 8 seeded teams.
Okay.
Top 8 seed. Yeah. There's no distinguishing between those when it comes to playoffs. It's the top 8 seeded teams. So I feel like, to me, that would be our championship game. That's in my opinion. I think Southern Maryland's really good. Baltimore is really good too. I got to see their whole team before I can say anything else about them. I know they were missing their bigs, but like I said, that PG team, I don't think anybody player for player matches up with that top 7 for City. But I think PG has enough talent, enough wherewithal, enough high IQ of basketball players they can play with. So that's an interesting one for me. And I want to see Loudon again, and they have Fairfax on Thursday night. Loudon beat Arlington, and like I said, Jeremiah Stanford really played well in that game. And then you got, Fairfax, who started to click a little bit towards the end of the Arundel game. So I really want to see what they look like in that one. I think that's an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
And this weekend we have a bunch of games at Moray Saturday and Sunday. I believe City plays Baltimore actually on Saturday. They play Baltimore has City and Southern Maryland coming up on Saturday.
Wow.
So they got a heck of a week. They play Howard tomorrow, who beat Montgomery in their first game. We still got to see who Howard is as far as beating Montgomery, but this is a test for them. So Baltimore plays them. Then Wednesday they got PG, and then Saturday they got Southern Maryland and City.
So I gotta ask this. You just gave us your prediction for the teams that will be in the championship game. I got to ask you, who are some of your early leaders for MVP of the?
That's the king of the summer is what we call it.
Okay, king of the summer.
Amari, if they can win some of the bigger games, he has a really good chance because he puts up such great numbers. But they got to win games. I think the City guys, so much talent in the team, they might, they're going to kind of cancel each other out probably. Yeah. So you got to look at a player like Amari, who's on a team that's good, but he's got to really carry the load for them to win games. Amani. I said Amani. I'm sorry, Amani.
I was about to say, who is Amari?
My bad, Amani. I'm sorry. I apologize, Amani. And then, same thing with PG. There's so much talent in those teams. It's just it's going to be hard to distinguish, who stands out and who doesn't. Because on any given day, Navarre could go for 30. Kalen can go for 30. We all know Baba can as well. Daniel's going to put up double-doubles every game for City. Christian Proctor's going to put up double-doubles every game for Southern Maryland. This year is going to be really hard. And we've had this before. And what we did was it kind of came down to almost like an NBA MVP where the top player on the top team kind of got the award, and that was the year I think Trey Thomas won that. That was about 3-4 years ago now. Yeah. But usually we usually like to say with the King of the Summer Award, we don't give it out, somebody takes it. So with these games this week, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So just to recap real quick, I know you mentioned that the slate of games at Moray this weekend. Where are the other games at for Wednesday and Thursday? Just so everybody knows. I know Thursday's Fairfax Christian.
Monday and Tuesday we're in Jessup. Odenton. I'm sorry, we're in Odenton. At the what's it called? What's the place called? Odenton Sports Center. We're at Odenton Sports Center on Monday and Tuesday.
How you doing, Miss Parker? By the way.
He said, "How you doing?" She's good. So yeah, we have Howard Baltimore tomorrow, and I'm thinking it's off the top of my head, man. Howard Baltimore tomorrow there, and Tuesday we have Arundel playing Montgomery. And then we have a Rising Stars game, Montgomery and Howard as well. Wednesday, like I said,
where's that Tuesday game at? Where's the Tuesday game at?
Odenton. They said Odenton. Monday and Tuesday at Odenton. Yep. Wednesday we have Charles versus City. Charles was missing some guys in the PG game, so we're yet to see their full team. So I like to see them against City in that one. And then, like I said, not City. I'm sorry, they played Southern Maryland. So Southern Maryland Charles is the first game, and then PG City is the second one. Really want to see how that one goes. And then Thursday we have that Fairfax Loudon doubleheader with Rising Stars and Elite. And that's a game where Loudon beat Arlington in that first one. Fairfax came on strong late. I think, to me, that's kind of an intriguing matchup. At the guard spot, you got Johnson Kennedy playing against his cousin, Cadell Phillips, his first cousin. So that'll be a fun matchup there. Again, we want to see those guys from Fairfax who are new to the leagues and still continue to grow. And the nerves, the more you play, the less nervous you get. So we want to see how guys look in that game. And then Saturday and Sunday, we're in Moray all day long. It's going to be some really good action both days.
Well, I can tell you now, this past Saturday, the environment was great. I saw a lot of local private school coaches representing, and I know it's going to be a lot more come playoff times. But it's definitely a different beast.
So
with the playoffs, we averaged about 70 plus coaches for our playoffs. It's insane.
Wow. So how important is it that kids go through the PYBL experience, like in that type of environment, this early?
I think it helps a lot. I've never been one to say that if you don't play PYBL, that means you're not good or you're not going to make it. That's not true at all. But it definitely helps a lot. Just playing in intense basketball games every time you step on the floor, knowing that everyone's watching, it gets you ready for that next level.
Yeah.
It gets you ready for that next level. So, for example, in the high school live period, you'll have games where, you have 30 plus coaches sitting courtside, whereas in the PYBL, you got used to that. You've done that before. It wasn't college coaches, it was high school coaches, but you've been there. And that's the thing about nerves. You're going to be nervous in high school too, but you kind of know better how to deal with your nerves because you've been through it before. Yeah. So that's all it is, man. Getting the experience is really good for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we definitely appreciate you
hopping on to talk with us.
Yeah, this is the second time, and it's always great because you add a lot of content and context to what's going on in youth sports. Mm-hmm. And just one last final question. I know we talked about MVPs and we talked about at the end of the year who's going to win the championship. What are some of the teams? I'm sorry, not the teams. And we talked about this weekend. What are there any implications this early on that you think will impact the playoff picture?
Of course, because we're still kind of in COVID protocol type of situation. There are not a lot of games. I mean, a 6 or 7 game regular season, so every game is huge. Okay. And you got to look at those. You kind of, if I could say it's kind of 2 tiers right now, I would say the top 4 are Baltimore, Southern Maryland, City, and PG. And I feel like when you play a team outside of that 4, you got to win. You got those are must-win games. Because a lot of teams are going to drop games to those 4, but those Loudon Fairfaxes or Anne Arundel Fairfaxes. The Alexandria versus Anne Arundels, the Loudon Arlingtons, you've got to win those games. Those are must-win games if you want to be in the playoffs. And our playoffs is where you want to be.
Well, I'm going to tell you, there's been a lot of guys that I've seen this past weekend who look special. And I'm looking forward to getting out to some of these games as much as we can. We thank you again for always being a gracious host and putting on a great event. And anything you want to say, Lou?
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving us your time and talking with us. And if you're not in the loop, you're out the loop. And that's facts.